Hi everyone, this is Gareso here and welcome to Gareso workflow number 1. The animation you're watching right now was created for the Animation Smashdown online contest, and the theme for this one was social media addiction. So let's do it! I usually start by doing a bit of rough thumbnailing on any paper. This was just a notepad that was sitting on my desk at work. So here I kind of try some ideas. Here is the first idea I was having that I didn't go for, and here's the final idea. Like you can see here, like the first scene, which is not like the final layout or anything. It's just like the rough idea, like the guy reaching for the phone, cut to the character using the cell phone here and starting to being sucked into the phone, and finally only the cell phone falling to the ground here. So yeah, that was good enough for me. And then next step, I jumped into Photoshop to do a proper sketch of one of the keyframes. I started with the keyframe where the character is reaching for the cell phone on the ground, just because I had this idea for the framing and the perspective, and I wanted to try first. And then after I was happy with this, I exported the sketch to Illustrator. Here I started tracing the sketch, cleaning up the lines and adjusting proportions and the design until I was happy. As you can see here, I kind of made some changes to the shape of the head, the style of the face. I got rid of the nose. Sometimes I find it easier to make changes after you finish vectorizing. And here I'm just showing all the lines so you can see the structure. So with the final design defined, I started adding colors. And in this case, it was pretty much straightforward because I had decided to use the magenta from the Instagram-like icon as the main color, as the driver of attention, and just really dark blue and this off-white here, which is not really white, is white with a red tint, just to kind of break the harshness of the white. And that's it. That's the final design. That's the frame that's driving all the look of the animation. So with this defined here, I started creating other two keyframes, one for the legs arriving and another one for the full body of the character. So yeah, with 3 keyframes defined, it was time to start animating. In Animate, I placed all 3 keyframes on the timeline, roughly in position, so I could use them as a guide for the rough pass. I usually start by tracing on top of the keyframes and working backwards and forwards from these points until I reach the other keyframe. So I like my rough pass really loose. I try to make it really quick so I can kind of get the feeling of the animation and don't get too attached to the drawings and delete frames and try other things. The important thing here is just to get the timing right, the movement right. And then I created some other layers to animate the head, the body, the hand, the arm, forearm, and cell phone. I think it's always a good idea to animate things on separate layers in case you want to make changes and stuff, especially when there's overlapping. So it's kind of divide and conquer. Like when you have a complex task at hand, the best thing to do is just to break it apart and tackle each part separately. So that's it for this scene here. I did pretty much the same thing for the second scene here with the reference keyframe here, working backwards and forwards from this point. So the first thing that I do when I'm starting a scene is to identify what's driving the movement. In this case, it was the legs and the body. That's why I kind of started with them first. I did this pass first up to the keyframe, and then I added the arm, the cell phone here in separate layers as well. And here, from this point on, as the driver of the movement changed to the cell phone, now the cell phone here is driving the movement. So everything that's happening from this point on is just a reaction to the cell phone movement. So it's kind of pushing and pulling the character around, and that's why you see only one layer here, just because from this point on I did a straight ahead approach. I was kind of drawing one frame after the other, just feeling what's happening to the animation on the next frame. And that's it. After I was happy with the animation, it was time to make it pretty. To do that, I start by creating one folder on top of everything, and I import the keyframes. Let me just show it here. So I import the keyframes from Illustrator, and you have two options here. You can either, I'll just create another file. So the first one is the usual file import to stage, and you just select your file, open. That's just asking me if it's an image sequence, which is not. Then you have the option to pick the layers you want. I usually just import the way it is, and there you have it, all layers here and your artwork as it was in Illustrator, so you can use as a base for the cleaning up process. But you can also, I'll just delete all the layers here, create another one so I can delete all of them. So you can just go back to Illustrator, select everything you want, just copy and paste it back to Animate. The good thing is it keeps the layers, so I think it's a faster way to do it. So okay, back to the cleaning up here. There's not too much to say about this, other than try to be clever with the drawings. I try to reuse the shapes as much as I can, so I reduce the drawings to a minimum. But in the end, it's just going frame by frame and tracing everything. I start with the lines, and then I go back every frame and start filling the shapes with the colors. So yeah, it's really several passes. You just do one pass for the lines, one pass for the colors, one pass for the shadows, and I mean, like, I use the rough pass just as a guide. Now I have to be more careful with my design. So as you can see here, let me just hide these style frames here. As you can see here, there's a difference in the positioning here, just because I kind of felt the need to change the perspective of the phone, because if you draw lines here, the horizon was too low and it was kind of odd, and I wanted the legs to be somewhere around here. That's why I kind of lifted the perspective a little bit, so it kind of looks more correct. And that's it. Same thing for scene 2, which is a bit more complex in the sense there's more individual elements, and that's it. It's a time-consuming task, but as you have the animation defined, it's just a matter of sitting there and being patient. I still add some details to the animation during the cleanup, like some secondary animation, like the hair here. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. So right, let's go to After Effects. In After Effects, the only thing I did for the first scene was to animate the cell phone screen, and this is just one composition here with all the animation that's going on there, like and that's an artwork from Illustrator as well. And then in the main comp, I just applied one corner pin effect here just to align the composition to the animation. So if you change the points here, you see it's gonna change the positioning. And then I use some hold keyframes here just to match the phone screen to the animation. And that's pretty much it. For the second scene, I created what I'm calling the portal, which was created basically using shape layers. So here you have one shape layer with the ripple effect and a gradient ramp. So it's just straight lines matching the animation. I'm using the cell phone here just as a guide, as you can see, and then using hold keyframes as well to match the stepness of animation created on tools. So that's why I'm using hold keyframes. And that's it. Ripple, shape layer, gradient ramp. And for the contents here, everything is also shape layers. As you can see, there are just some straight lines. The idea here was to make everything going towards the center of the comp. So back in the main comp was just a matter of aligning the comp to the cell phone. As you can see, the center of the comp is here. And then by doing that, all the lines would always be coming towards the cell phone. So here is just straight lines with a repeater, zigzag with smooth points, and everything is relying on the animation of the dashes within the stroke. So as you can see here, I used one simple expression just to multiply time by a number, which gives me an infinite animation, and also a twist to affect everything. And that's pretty much it. I just duplicated the shape layer, changed the settings, tweaked the values, and I just added one value to the expression here just to offset this new shape layer in time, which is basically what this value is doing here. And that's it. Not too many secrets here. Back to the main comp, and it's pretty much it. There are some details I'm not talking about in this video here, but I'm making the project files available at Gumroad so you can have a closer look. And I'll also try to answer any questions on the comments section of this video. So thanks for watching the whole way through. This was a lot of work to put together, and I hope to be releasing more content soon. And I hope this can be useful to you somehow. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, follow me on Instagram to see what I'm up to next, and I see you next time.